Big Town, read all about it. Extra, extra, extra. Extra, extra, Big Town, read all about it. Extra, extra, extra.
Where are you anyway? Where are you anyway?
Guys, you know what time it is. It is Monday. The beginning of the week, we have a very unique opportunity to not only learn Logic Pro, to not only learn it at the highest level, but to be able to use the skills that we learn on this channel, Resources for the Modern Creative, and to be able to, in fact, change the very course of our lives, step by step, moment by moment, day by day. Now, if you're interested in learning how to use flex time and flex pitch specifically, that's what we're talking about today. Let's say you tune your vocals. Let's say you want to better tune acoustic guitars. Maybe you recorded them and they're a little bit off tune, right? I'm going to be showing you so many different techniques today that it's going to absolutely blow your mind. So if you're ready to get into Logic Pro, you know what time it is. Let's go. Hey, how you doing? Ready? All right. It's Monday, y'all. Let's go! Come on now. Let's go. All right, we're going to start the week off strong. You know, we're going to bring a lot of energy into it. The way you start is usually an indicator of how you end. So this is how we're going to start. You ready? Let's go! Let it come from within. We're going to learn this subject, the very best subject in the world, in the known and the unknown universe. It's called Logic Pro. Okay, so if you don't use Logic, there will be some core concepts that you could check out. Perhaps you can hear more about hfmusicacademy.com and how we help people monetize their music and how we help people really learn the art of mixing and mastering. And then, of course, we're also teaching Logic Pro, starting to implement other DAWs like Pro Tools. You can check out the channel for that. Before we get started, it is certainly worth saying that most of the people that watch us are not even subscribed. So I want you to take a quick second right now. If you're on one of these mobile devices, I want you to go ahead and then just go ahead and sub. Hit all notification bell, because every single time we come on, right, you get the information then and there. So if you want to stay up to speed, you want to make sure that we're in your feed, then go ahead and sub. All right. Now, if you change your mind later, you can always unsub. But for right now, we're going to sub. And then another favor to ask is if you can just share the information, right? There is somebody else that can benefit just the way that you have been benefiting if you've been watching the entire series, or that you're about to benefit, because I'm telling you, this content is incredible. No one brings it like we do. Resources for the Modern Creative. All right. So look, it's time to get into it. We're going to talk all things flex pitch. But before we do, we kind of have this tradition going right now where if something happens, maybe we're reading a certain subject and maybe there's a bug or it's not behaving the way that it should, then what we do is we cover our footsteps, we cover the ground, and we clarify what exactly happened. So the last time that we were working together, we were discussing this quantizing the timing of multiple audio tracks. Well, I went through all the various steps and to no avail. Nothing really occurred. So anyway, I did my research. Want to make sure you guys have everything you need in order to prosper and thrive. And so what I saw was really just a bug, right? It was just a misrepresentation of what happened. So the way that we're able to quantize multiple tracks all at the same time is by simply hitting the flex engine, turning them on, going into the group mode. So how do you create groups? Well, we hit Command G, and you can always utilize the help tag here, right, to get to that. So it looks like inside of mix, we also have the ability to create a group. Now, once you create a group, two things happen. In the inspector, the group inspector comes up and it says, hey, what would you like to name this specific group. And then the second thing is inside of the mixer key command X, we also have a group lane that has been displayed inside of the mixer right here, group. Okay, so this is another way that you could then change or reassign groups, right? So what I want to make clear here, though, is that we're still not seeing the cue reference. And the reason is because we have to select editing right here in the group inspector. And then after that, as soon as you hit quantize locked audio, this is now when the behavior changes. And inside of the track header, we find the power button, we find the cue reference button, and then of course, we see that they are all playing nice the way that they're supposed to. For example, if I would like to, let's say, automate or change the volume or mute, all of these will now work together. Let me show you what I mean. You see how I'm changing the automation on track number 2, but all of the red regions, which are now a group called drums, they're all working together. The same goes for other functions that were assigned. For example, volume, mute. If I change the volume of one track, they are all going to work together. They are concurrently making the same decision. Is that cool? Does that make sense? So just make sure that you try this out. You want to make sure it works together. This is an incredible, incredible way to use editing in the most efficient manner possible, right? If you know you want the same selections across a group, then there really is no better way. All right then, so look, we are talking about flex pitch. This is all brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. If you want to check out that platform and how we are helping artists, composers, beat makers, singers from all over the world, go ahead and check it out. All right, so let's go. It's time, right? Let's really cover this extensively. Wanted to take just a quick second to say thank you to everybody who is supporting the cause here. This is really making a big difference for a lot of people. And so I just wanted to say a quick thank you for supporting the channel and for subscribing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down. We're talking about editing the pitch of audio. All right. Let's read a little bit here. We're not talking about flex time anymore. I just want to be clear. So we have flex time and we have flex pitch. So we're transitioning to flex pitch. So this is a track-based setting, not a region-based setting. So that's the first thing that we have to look at. Let's notate, okay? And what does it determine? But it determines the pitch of our audio material. And notice it didn't say the vocal material. That's simply because if you have a bass that's out of tune, and this happens more often than not, to be honest, and sometimes you just need to get everything to fit a little bit tighter. I'm not talking rhythm, I'm talking about the pitch. This is a sure way to get you across the finish line. So when we're talking about flex pitch, we know that we can find this algorithm inside of the track inspector. Okay, so it says here, it comes with 2 parameters in the track inspector. So let's go ahead and look at that really quick. I have a vocal, let's see, right up here. And you know what? Why don't we check out the song that we will be listening to today? Here we go. Of course, you don't hear it. So let me go ahead and share this like so. Okay, so here's the song that we're listening to today. Here we go. All right, so there's a lot of treatment going on in there. And so if we take out all the, fancy stuff on top, the vocal just sounds, pretty basic. Sounds more like this. Okay, so that is good. So when I click on track number 18, this is the main vocal. Roger that. Let me just make sure this is working. Yeah, cool. All right, so then once we do that, we want to go into the track inspector, okay? And then when we go into flex mode, this is where we can access the two algorithms, flex time and flex pitch. Now, it's really interesting because when we go into, so we have the region inspector open, and we know this deals with regions. We have the track inspector open, and we know that this deals with the track, which contains all the regions. And we can also determine the flex algorithm inside of the track itself, right? So if I make a change here, for example, let's say I want to select flex time slicing, then what ends up happening is after Logic analyzes what it needs to analyze, that change is reflected inside of the track inspector, okay? So these two are kind of speaking the same language, right? The track and, of course, the track header, it's really one and the same thing. All right, so, of course, we're not working with flex time. As stated, we're working with flex pitch. So let's change that inside of the track inspector. We're not using flex mode time. We're using flex pitch. All right, so that change has been made. You'll notice visually that something else has happened, right? The audio no longer looks the way that it normally does. It now looks like we have some MIDI notes. These are not MIDI. Of course, this is the flex pitch algorithm at work. So it says here, when you choose a flex algorithm, the freeze mode in the track inspector switches from pre-fader to source only. So when you freeze tracks, this is only going to freeze the track without any effect plugins. We've talked about this extensively. To be honest, this is not really important right now. We can talk way more about freeze and how to utilize it and when best to utilize it. But for right now, let's talk about the flex pitch algorithm. We're talking about two parameters that can really change the game, right? We have the formant track, which determines the interval at which formants are tracked. And then, of course, the formant shift, which determines how those formants are adjusted to pitch shifts. This stuff is really going to make your music sound particularly interesting. So we're inside of flex pitch. And then inside of the flex pop-up menu, we have these two parameters. So let me show you exactly where these are located. Again, as mentioned, we have track number 18. This is the main vocal. We have the region inspector. I'm going to close this so we can visually not bombard you. And then I'm going to highlight the track inspector right here, my good friends. All right. So again, because we selected the algorithm flex pitch, two things have happened. Number one, we get the MIDI analysis, which we can actually convert to MIDI. Stay tuned for that. But what's interesting is that we get these new parameters, formant track, formant shift, and it looks like, not stated in the user guide, which we have to update, but it looks like we have process always. So this is really interesting. And of course, because we don't have any new information, we're going to just do the research ourselves. Again, all brought to you by hfmusicacademy.com. So let's go here, formant track. This parameter is going to determine the interval at which the formants are tracked. So it's going to really heavily influence the sound. And then when you do shift it with this second parameter here, right, it looks like there's a maximum value of 24 positive and negative 24 as well. So we will learn a little bit more about that. When you do shift it, it says when it's set to 0, the formats are adjusted together with the pitch shifts. So this is how we have full control over this. Let's keep reading. When you activate flex pitch, the destructive editing features in the audio file editor are disabled. So that's worth noting. If you are doing anything inside of the audio file editor, everything will be disabled. So it looks like this takes precedence, right? If you plan on using flex pitch and making destructive edits, which you shouldn't, but just in case you do, you'll either need to make the edits before or bounce the region in place. And that is a good practice. For those of you that are afraid of commitment, I ask you right now today to commit and start bouncing to audio. It'll make the biggest difference in the world. And worst case scenario, if you're not, if you don't really want to fully commit, you can always utilize track alternatives as well. You can watch one of the former videos. We had a lot of great content here. Go ahead and subscribe. And then lastly, I guess, like an insurance policy would be to go to project alternative and then create a new alternative where you can actually experiment and keep the original session as is. So let's see, anything else for you? No, this is good. Let's keep it moving here. Let me zoom back a little bit. All right, so when you choose flex pitch, this is going to be also reflected in the audio track editor. All right, but not here. If I hit E and I go to track, you'll notice that nothing looks different in the audio track editor. And this is really the preferred way to edit audio regions or audio tracks. Now, the only reason you're not seeing it is because you simply haven't turned on the flex window, right? So it is on. We can see the track inspector. We're utilizing flex pitch rather. And when I hit this button right here, we see the same behavior reflected in the audio track editor. So I guess here, just to make sure we're all on the same page here, if I move a note in the tracks area here, the same change is occurring in the audio track editor. So why wouldn't you just do it in the tracks area? Well, it's just a better way to look at it. That's really is, or just another way of looking at it. So you can certainly just readjust your screen and make any and all changes here. But I think you'll come to find ultimately at the end of the day that really this is a space designed to help you. And really there's more feature sets, which we'll look at right now. Okay, so if we zoom into the track in the tracks area, now we can identify the notes displayed like notes in the piano roll. Like I said, MIDI, right? It's not really MIDI, but we know that we can convert. When viewing flex pitch in this way, you can edit the pitch, the time position, and the length of notes. So worth highlighting, what can we affect? Let's say that again, pitch, the time position, and then the length, okay? In much the same way as you would in the piano roll editor. So this is really important. Let's say you have a singer and they sang the last note of the song, but they cut out too early. Maybe they lost their breath. Maybe they were just getting shy, whatever it was. And you need to take that word and stretch it out. You can now do that. See, you can also cut off notes as well, right? The inverse is true. They sang something way too long and maybe you're trying to align backup vocals. You can literally cut the note in a very natural way. If you have Melodyne or you have experience in Melodyne, there are a lot of mirroring behaviors. Of course, Melodyne is kind of the Rolls Royce of vocal tuners out there, but you can actually do quite a lot. You can take this program to a very far place, but you just need to learn all the details. So it says here that you can also merge multiple notes into one. So that is also worth looking at. See, each individual note contains hot spots. So that right there is the word of the hour. We're going to learn how to edit pitch, also vibrato, the actual gain of each and every word, including S's and plosives, T's, that kind of thing, and other parameters. So if we want to change the pitch of a note, we know how easy that is. We just hover over, right? The cursor converts into the hand tool, and then we can just drag up and down. I just want to make one thing just clear. Sometimes what ends up happening is people turn on flex pitch inside of the tracks area, and they're like, well, I don't see anything, right? Like, I've turned it on, right? And so I've seen this time and time again. The only way you're going to see it is if you hold Option or hit and scroll up, or if you hold Command and use the down arrow key so that you can look at the screen and you can see the flex pitch algorithm here. All right, so again, if I E, this is the best way to do it in my opinion, but still, I want you to have both. We can change the pitch here. We can also change it here, as I showed you earlier. When I wonder if we can also use, hold on, let me just try one thing. something called the event float. I just wonder if we can use this. No, it doesn't look like it because, yeah, this isn't MIDI yet. As soon as we convert to MIDI, we can use that. Okay, so how do we move notes with this? Well, let's find a word here. Let's keep going. Okay, so let's say the word high was something that we wanted to adjust for whatever reason. I can click here and drag this to the left. Let me go ahead and hit M to turn off the response. But if I click and drag over to the left, you can see that it's moving the actual waveform. That's right back here. Now, if my snap to grid is set to ticks, what do you think is going to happen? But this is going to abide by those rules as well. So just wanted to be clear on that, that if you do utilize it, that this will potentially act a little bit different. So probably best to be off the grid, especially when making little minute changes. Okay. So let's listen to this really quick now that we're moving it ahead. That's too much. Let's do that again. Okay, what I'll do is I'll hit this little button here, which will solo the region and play back for me in a cycle. Hold 'em up high. Hold 'em up high. So again, maybe you want to make a change and you say, nah, this has to be, you know, placed a little bit further, right? It's not quite there yet. Let's move it over. Hold on, it's having. Hold on. Technical difficulties, having a bug here. I'm trying to drag it to the left and it seems to just want to go up or down. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so quick disclaimer that I should have said when I first started. When you use flex time, flex pitch especially, takes a lot of CPU resources. So if you already have a track super heavy with processing, probably not a bad idea to bypass a couple things because it really does take a lot of juice. This is why we want to overemphasize committing to audio once you make any and all changes. Again, you don't have to get rid of the original track. Let's say this was my main vocal. You can bounce into audio and then maintain the original main vocal if need be. But yeah, it does take a lot of processing. So let's do this one last time. There we go. Okay, so now we know how to change the pitch of the note. So let's say you were not happy with hold 'em up high. Maybe you want to go high. So let's try that. Let's give that a spin. See what it sounds like. And we'll do it with the song. Here we go. Here and here. That could be a nice change, right? The first time around, you just sit on that note that it resolves. Hold 'em up high. And then the next time over, hold 'em up high. So that's a nice little transition. You can kind of play with the listener in that way. So what else you got for me? We can resize a note. We can also split it. And then we can also merge. So let's start from the top, resizing. Maybe you thought, hey, I like the vibe here. This is working for me, but I just need to resize it. Right? It's too long. Right, Eddie, you sang it too long. All right, cool. It looks like I'm resizing the entire region there. Let me see if I could try this one. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's one way to do it, right? I just want to make sure I'm not extending the entire. Here's one way to make sure that we're not cheating here. Let me extend the length. Yeah, cool. That works. That looks good. And then what I'll do is I'll grab the note. Hold on, let me play this back. All right, all right. What bar am I in? Let me hit that. Okay, I can't extend it. All right, so I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm not resizing the region. It's the note itself. So that this is kind of weird because it sits right at the end. I wonder if there's a way to really accurately get the. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna hover here. Awesome. Oh, but it looks like it's still carrying the region. But as you can see, it's not the region, and it's the note itself. So, again, you know, we pride ourselves in giving you the most detailed information in the most concise and succinct way. Like, of course, anybody can just you know, throw out a bunch of, you know, facts and things like that. But we're giving you application, and that's what will make the biggest difference in this game. Okay. All right. So let me press play, and let's hear how this length change has affected the vocal. Now, of course, does that need to be finessed? Obviously, but compare that to that. Right? And again, it doesn't even have to be that dramatic, okay? You could just do a little bit, right? And then I can teach you how to, you know, perhaps create a fade so that, you know, this sounds a little bit more natural on the way out. Command F shows me the flex window. Command F then shows me the audio track editor. So this is a nice workflow as well, where, you know, you're creating the fade, and then I hit Command F. See, I can't create a fade inside of the audio flex pitch algorithm, right? So then you would want to get out of it, make some adjustments, and then come back in. All right, splitting a note. Why would we want to split a note, you ask? Well, sometimes there are some situations where you do need to kind of separate the notes. Like sometimes the algorithm thinks that when you say two words, it's really just one word. And because it's just zeros and ones, it doesn't know that two is a word and the is a word. So it combines them both. And so this is a great way to kind of, you know, tell the system that these are two different words. Okay, so let's listen, and then I'll find something to chop. Yeah, so, you know, I've got this hold 'em up, and then there's a vocal fill. So then what we'll do is we'll change this into the scissor tool, and again, there's probably better examples, but we're just kind of showing you, you know, that you can chop these up and get a better performance, right? So let's see if this makes a little bit more sense visually and audio-wise. Hold 'em up, right? So of course you would want to work on that a little bit more, and you know, stay tuned. I'm going to show you what the 6 hot spots are, right? It gets really detailed, really interesting. Do you need Melodyne? Do you need auto-tune? Not necessarily. Will they help? Yes, that's just the honest answer. Now, if you either can't afford it quite yet or you're saving up for it, this is plenty, especially for beginners. This does exactly what you need it to. So don't, you know, be hasty. Don't be in a hurry. All in due time, we're going to get it all done. Here's the good part, my friends, right? That we're here to testify that you can do it now, right? You don't have to wait. You don't have to buy another plugin. You don't have to go, you know, buy another book or sign up with another company or you know, read another course or whatever. You can actually do it now, but you have to have the training in order to be able to execute. That really is the name of the game, to be in action, right? To be in action, not just there. Don't just talk about it, right? Be in action. Don't just tell everybody about it. You have to tell everybody about it, right? And then you want to make sure that you are always coming back to the dojo, right? Come back to the place of learning, come back to the pace of growth, and then churn out those products, right? So this is how we get better. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, so this is a great way for you to fine tune and precisely detail a guitar, vocal, bass performance, what have you, okay? So just because I'm using vocals, please do not misinterpret what we're doing here. This is for all audio sources, okay? All right, so we want to merge two notes. In this case, we would use the glue tool. I wonder if we can also use the key Command J. No. Command J? No. We would have to utilize Control click? No. All right, so if we go into the cursor tools for the audio track editor, we can access the glue tool. 1, 2, 3 converts this into now one performance. Now that probably wouldn't be a great idea with this section, but let's see if I can find something that applies here. Hold them. Now you see, so that's 2 notes. Hold them. Right, so that's, you wouldn't want to join those 2. Let me listen to the rest of that. Hold them up, hold them up. See, that's the same note. So in this case, we would want to join all these 3 together, right? So T, G, and I've changed these key commands, so it probably won't look the same on your system, but I will join these, and then now I can tune this separately. Why would I do this, Eddie Gray, Apple certified? Well, the reason I would do this is because it just sounds better, right? Sometimes the algorithm is going to mess your stuff up, and so I need you to learn how to rectify it, right? The machines will help us. The AI can assist us, but ultimately it's still your decision to be made. It's still your musical fingerprint. And so, yeah, let's take that responsibility. So let's listen to this. That's one note. Hold 'em up. And then it starts to fluctuate and we go through that vocal fill. And then, it requires a little bit more change and savviness. So that's cool. All right. Let's keep going. Page 446. Let's go! Right? You get tired. That's all you got to do. Just let it out. Create more energy. It's quite simple. Don't get in your own way. Let's go. All right, my good friends. Now is the hour hot spots. We going. You ready? Another one. Another one. All right, come on, guys. Beast mode. Get into it, right? Really put it all on the table. We're going to edit some parameters. What are we talking about? We're talking about pitch drift. We're talking about vibrato. We're talking about pitch drift again, but this is the beginning of pitch drift, and this is the end of pitch drift. We're going to go over it in a quick second here. What else are we talking about? Hot spot gain. There's another hot spot called fine pitch, and there's another hot spot still that's called formant shifting. Probably the coolest of the gang. So let's go ahead and check in and see how we can utilize these to the best of your ability. So let's start by just looking at it really quick, and then we'll go over all the specs. Top left, my good friends, you will find pitch drift. The best way to describe this is, when a singer goes into a note, you either hit it right on the money, right, or or you swoop or glide into it, right? You didn't start on the note, you were pitch drifting, or she was pitch drifting into the note. And so this right here is going to affect how that turns out for you. Now that's the beginning, right? Pitch drift. To the right, there's another hot spot. Remember, there's 6 of them, and this is fine pitch. You can see it says -23. Why is that? Well, because this is not in perfect pitch. How do I know that? Because this bar that I just highlighted is not perfectly filled out, right? There's still some space there. So if I hover down or up, it's going to fill out the entire expanse of the note. Check it out. So now the entire rectangle has been filled out, and this tells me, Eddie, this is now in perfect pitch. Now, of course, perfect pitch doesn't necessarily mean perfect pitch. For those of you that have been in the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes they're hitting the note, but it just doesn't sound right. And this is why we are given access to this, because sometimes it needs to be a little bit off kilter, if you know what I mean. But that takes practice and that takes persistence to be able to hear and acknowledge. My friends, we were talking about pitch drift before going into the note. What if we were able to address the end of a note? Well, we can. It's right here on the top right. It's called pitch drift. Now, if you guys know Jim Morrison, right? I am the Lizard King. You know that basically when he sang at the end of the phrases, you know that basically he would trail off, and he would kind of not in a lazy way, but in a with a lot of swagger and confidence, and he would kind of lean into the note and let it fall off, right? Almost like a ethereal dream. So it'd be like, hey, right? It's not just on. He's not ending the note on the pitch. It's right? So that is pitch drift. This is why we have two of them, because you're either sliding in or swooping in, or you're gliding off or sliding off. So that's 3 hot spots that we have detailed. What else you got for me? Bottom left, you have gain. So let's say you are rapping, right? You're throwing bars, and then on one word, you happen to just say it too loud, right? I was like, oh man, I really wish I could just bring that one word. You can't. You actually can't. Just literally click here and drag up and down. And look at the waveforms, guys, right? Look at that. I'm controlling the waveform. So this is now gain staging at the finest level. Thank you, Logic Pro. We love you. So to the right of that, what else we got? Vibrato. All right. So you know when somebody sings, right? And their voice quivers or wavers, right? So now we can control that. Let's say you don't want that sound, or maybe you want more of it, right? Maybe you didn't sing with enough vibrato to kind of escalate the emotions of the song. Well, in that case, then you would take the vibrato and you would even it out if you wanted less. See how I'm flattening the line? It is now completely straight. Or I can cause much more wavering. And I don't, of course, I wouldn't recommend that much because then it's just going to sound insane. But if I were to isolate this note right here, let's listen to the natural vibrato. Okay, cool. I want more. Let's listen to this now. And you know what? Let me take off all the bells and whistles so you can just listen to the source sound. Okay, so I want more. Can I somehow manufacture more? Let's see. Yeah, so it's trying to do it, but because I didn't really sing it on that line, it sounds robotic. So we can flatten it out, which is probably a very desirable thing in some cases where you just want it like a pop performance. So let's check this out. We're flattening the line. Right, so that's perfection right there. Of course, once you hide it or polish it with treatment, it'll sound a little bit more, pretty and majestic. Check it out. Cool. So this is a formula. I just want to make sure you guys understand that as soon as you have the right tools, right, you can get ahead. Now, even though it's a formula, it's going to sound contradictory, but at the same time, it's still the wild, wild west. Anything goes. You may invent a new genre for all I know. That's not my job. My job is to teach the next Mozart. Here, our plan and our aspirations are to teach 10,000 modern creatives all over the world, right? We know you guys are geniuses. We know that you have the talent and the abilities to exceed all expectations, but it's really up to you, right? It's really up to you and what you want to do. And so we're giving you the tools day in and day out, 6 days a week, right? We want to make sure that you sub and that you share so that not only you benefit, but that others get to benefit as well. All right, so that's the 5th hotspot. Finally, at the rightmost of this specific I wouldn't call it a MIDI event, but the flex algorithm on the hotspot, we have Foreman shifting, and this right here is money. Let me tell you why. You hear my voice and just how it sounds, processed, but normal. Check it out. Okay, what's pretty sweet about this is when I select, why is the marquee tool selected? One sec. Is this a bug? Yeah, this is a bug. Let me see if I can reset it. Nope. Why is that happening? Let me see if I could. Here, let me go to another region. Yeah, this 10.6.1 has been pretty buggy for me, my friends. I don't know about you guys, but let me know in the comments if 10.6.1 has been buggy for you. I didn't want to switch over, but there was a couple things that I needed to change, and yeah, it is what it is. So, okay, so now I've selected all of these notes, and we're going to hover over the bottom hotspot. That's called formant shifting, and this can be best described as resonance. The example that I always give when I teach, whether it's hfmusicacademy.com or corporations, several companies that I've been able to work with. Essentially, think of it like the chamber of somebody's mouth, the aperture, how big it is or how small it is. And I use an example. I say, look, if we had a giant of a person, right, 7 foot, 8 foot tall, they speak a certain way. You think of somebody like, I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal, Andre the Giant, whatever, somebody that's just massive in proportion. They have a very certain distinct tonal texture, right? And that's because the resonance is much bigger and it sounds different. Now, if we think of somebody, in comparison that's, 4 feet tall or, a child, right? Somebody small, you think of a small puppy or something that barks. They have a very small aperture or resonant chamber in their throat. And so that sounds a different way. So yeah, resonance is directly kind of linked and associated with formant shifting. Let me show you what I mean. Here's before. In your hand. Okay, and when I change this, we can make this sound deeper. Check this out. Look how, and this has nothing to do with the actual pitch. This is why I use the word resonance. Check this out. In your hands. Which sounds pretty sick. I have to admit, I really like how that tone, right? It just has a certain world and vibe to it. Here, check this out. In your hands. So the major takeaway here with the formant shift, my good friends, is that quite honestly, this can be a backup vocal. So again, let's say you don't have the time to write more vocals. I don't know, you're on a deadline or something, and you're like, cool, with the main vocal, I'm gonna leave it as is, but I'm just gonna literally create a second track, right? Just like this. I just hold Option, I duplicate a track, and the one on top here is going, let me turn on flex inside of the audio track editor. The one on top here will have no formant shifting. So let me hit that. Oh, and is there like a better way? Yeah, let me just set all, reset all, right? So then now there's no formant shifting anymore. So what did I do? I control clicked when I had everything selected. You can either hit Command A or literally create a selection. So then now there's no formant shifting going on. And when I go to the second track right below, I just duplicated it rather than, changing the pitch. That is one way to do it as well. But it's a good practice to then change the formant on this one, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover down. Boom. Okay. And now let's listen to just the regular one that we've been listening to here. In your hands. Okay, now let's listen to 2. In your hands. Right, so that's a very particular tone, and of course you don't have to use the original either. In your hands. But yeah, this is a nice way to be able to create harmonies. And then on top of that, you can surely, change the notes if you want to create harmonies, and you could lift this up. So here's 2, right? I just duplicated the region and I'm fabricating a harmony. In your hands. So that's one way to do it there. Okay, let me go back. Here. So again, it's not just about reading the user guide. This is about giving you some tips, some tricks along the way. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've had the opportunity to compose for television shows, produce artists. I won a remix contest, won awards, and I just want to give back, right? That's the MO here, is we want to make sure we give you the best information and the most reliable information at that, and the most consistent information as well. All right, cool. So we pretty much covered everything with the hotspots, but you should also be aware that inside of the audio track editor, with the cursor tools, we have some tools that we have yet to see in the tracks editor. Let me introduce you. We have the volume tool, which is really the same as gain staging. Okay, so if I utilize the volume tool, I can now change the volume individually of every single flex pitch data. That's probably the best way to phrase that right there. If I then hit T and I bring the tool menu to me, I can access the vibrato tool, and this without having to touch the hotspot gives me complete control over vibrato functions. So that's really nice as well. Anything else worth mentioning here? No. Okay, so nice. Let's keep moving. So gain, we talked about that. Yeah, I guess side note, the volume tool is only available in the audio track editor, not the audio file editor. Let's make that distinction. Let me see, did I miss anything here? Yeah, I just like to make sure in case there's any gems. We have found so many gems. If you've been keeping up with the content, Eddie Gray, reading the Logic user guide, we're on page 447, and we just feel honored to give you this amazing information. And as a way to say thank you, if you want to just show us some love, show some good vibes, just go ahead and sub and just share this on any and all socials. You can take a quick picture of me if you want. Here, let me post for you. Cool. All right. And then, we can send this off and we could just spread the word. There's a lot of people that need to learn this program. Come on. We know it, right? Maybe it's a cousin or a friend of yours and they've always wanted to be like a great singer, but they just don't know how to start or where to start. This can be an invaluable resource, right? It's free. It's coming at you 6 days a week, and we're covering every single detail. So if there's somebody that you know and you know that they could benefit from it, please introduce us to them, and we can go from there. Okay, let's get back in it. So let's see. We're gonna edit the audio pitches now. Let's read a little bit here. In fact, let me look at you guys. I haven't seen you in a bit. It's been a while. All right. When you choose flex pitch for a track in the tracks area, but you haven't zoomed into the track, you don't have access to all the flex pitch parameters. So that is something worth mentioning. You have to zoom in tight enough in order to really be able to take advantage. Instead, you're shown the pitch deviation of individual notes from their perfect semitone as bars overlaying the audio waveform. So to simplify that language a little bit, essentially, let me see if I can see you. Okay. There is a rectangle, and it's going to be filled out either 100% of the way. But when I say filled out, I mean like colored. And sometimes it's only filled 50% of the way or 75% of the way. When it's filled out 100% of the way, it's in perfect pitch. But as I previously mentioned, it doesn't mean that it's going to sound good. So just be clear, know what you're looking for. Let's see. The horizontal zero line represents the perfect pitch. The upward bars represent sharp notes. Yeah, so basically, let me bring you in here so you can really see this. It just depends on how you're looking at this, but like this one here, right, this means that it's sharp if it looks like this, but if I go like this, you see how it starts off at, right? That means that now you're getting away from the note. So you can be either too flat or too sharp. Now, a quick way to fix this is just to control click it and say, hey, Logic, can you set this to perfect pitch? And it's like, yes, your wish is my command, right? All right, cool. So I dig it. Everything's good. Wait, hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Geez, let me change my zoom level. If you want to move notes in time, you should use the audio track. Oh yeah. So yeah, if you want to change the timing, like if it plays ahead or behind, it's suggesting that you should use the audio track editor. So I guess you can change the pitch in the audio. Let me highlight this for you in the tracks area up here. Okay. And you can change the same here, but if you're looking to move the position of this, you should do it inside of the audio track editor and not here, because I don't believe you can do it, but we're going to test it out. Oh, you sure can do it here, so I'm not sure why they mentioned that, but you sure can do it. So if you want to move notes in time. Yeah, so this is definitely wrong. Or maybe it's right, but they're just suggesting it. Like it's probably better practice. I don't know, processing. Regardless, there's not enough information, so we're going to strike it. Let's see, page 448, Eddie Gray reading the Logic user guide. So we can adjust per semitones using the same feature I just showed you. Let's keep moving. Perfect pitch, I just showed you how to do that. If you want to reset one or more notes, you can double click the bar Oh, that's another way too. I forgot to tell you. Like, you see this note here at bar 5? Like, check this out, how quick it is. I can double click, and now it's in perfect pitch. So just by double clicking, look at this one right here, my good friends. We're on that blue circle. I'm going to double click it, and boom, it's in perfect pitch now. So that's another way. But if you wanted to reset the value back to its original default, control click and then say reset the pitch curve. And nothing yet. Hold on. Reset all. Nothing yet. Oh, so what happened? Hold on. All right, we're getting more bugs here. Let me try this again. I guess I'll control click and then I will reset. Nothing. And nothing. So that is a little weird. Oh, wait, there you go. Now I saw it. You see that? So I guess you have to select everything in order to see it. Reset all, just like that. It would be nice to be able to do it just on this one. I didn't see it there. Let me see here. Okay, so it looks like it adjusted just the pitch. That seems a little bit confusing, a little wonky, but anyway, that's there. We can control click an individual bar and set to original pitch. Okay, so I actually like that. Control click, set to original pitch, moves it back to where it first started. So that's the option that I was looking for. Set to original pitch. Okay. And conversely, rather than selecting the bar itself, or wait, what's the way that they phrase this? The individual bar. That's probably not the best way of saying that. But anyway, you can also set all to perfect pitch and then set all to original pitch, kind of like just starting over. But we can also set everything to perfect pitch and everything just kind of comes together really quickly, just like that. Let's see. It looks like we have a little bit more information here. Let's do a little bit of reading. When flex pitch is turned on in the audio track editor, you can quantize or automatically correct the timing. All right, so we're in flex pitch, but we can affect the timing as well. This is really useful when regions on the track contain the right notes, but they're not perfectly in time. So think of vocal align. I know Melodyne has a great timing feature as well. So let's go ahead and yeah, and again, the clause here is that you can use this on acoustic guitars or drum performances, whatever. It isn't just one thing. It's the core concept that we want to teach you here. When you quantize the timing, selected regions of the selected track are adjusted to selected note value. So 16th notes, 8th notes. We know about quantizing. If you aren't sure, a good starting point is the note value on which your beat falls. So now they're kind of teaching you a little bit about music. Start with one and then keep changing it until you find it if you have no idea what any of this means or is. So let's see here. We're going to go into the flex feature, and then we're going to choose flex pitch, and then we're going to select the regions that we want to quantize, and then inside of the quantization menu in the piano roll inspector, we're going to quantize. But hold on, I just want to see one thing. This is really interesting. Okay, so let me see. We're on track number 18. And we select flex pitch, okay? And it looks like on the left-hand side, it's not really the piano roll inspector, it's the audio track inspector right here on the, left-hand side, okay? So what we're going to do right now is quantize this, and we're talking about time, not pitch, and we'll say 16th notes. And I don't see really any modifications being made, maybe because I sang it perfectly on time, but let's see if we can, the slider is also set to 0, so that actually may help. So yeah, you can start seeing up here that these are being kind of maneuvered and changed accordingly. So if you want to play with timing, you can do it here. Again, we can also gain stage using the gain slider. So that's pretty cool. Oh, wait, that went too far. So there you go. So that's another way of doing it. Wow, I mean, we have the volume tool, we have the gain slider as well, and then we can scale quantize all of this as well. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yep, drag the pitch correction slider to the right to increase the amount of tuning. Okay, yeah, so it looks like you can also, let me set everything to perfect pitch. So you see how this pitch correction slider says 100? Well, let's say you're like, I like the performance. It sounds better in tune, but maybe not that much. So we can change the slider setting so that it's not that perfect, right? So that's another way of creating some variety in your performances where the backup vocals are probably really in tune, but the main vocal is not, or the other way around, okay? So we also have a pitch slider, which is really nice. Let's go ahead and finish off here by talking about creating MIDI from the audio using the flex pitch. Now, I will just throw out a quick disclaimer. It does not sound, it doesn't work most of the time. It sounds okay, but still, it's worth noting just in case, this may be a great creative tool for some of you. So it says here, we can create MIDI regions from an audio recording with monophonic, tends to get the best results. Chords or polyphonic material may lead to errors. I know that Ableton's algorithm is really fantastic when it comes to this. Logic, I think it's still developing. Before creating the MIDI, it's a good idea to make any needed corrections to the audio after enabling Flex. So we could move the regions around, play with the timing. After creating the MIDI regions, you can make further corrections and changes to the MIDI notes. Very cool. When you use the create MIDI track from Flex Pitch Data, a MIDI region is created. Okay, so let's check this out. I guess, yeah, here's a good idea. So you can see that I have Flex Pitch enabled, right? Everything's ready to go. And then when I go to edit, we have create MIDI track from Flex Pitch Data. So just to reiterate, this is Flex Pitch, okay? And it's enabled in the audio track editor. I go into the edit menu and I go into create MIDI track from Flex Pitch Data. So then you can see that Logic did create a software instrument track. It loaded Alchemy. Let's see what this sounds like. Cool. So then what you can do is you can, load this with another instrument per se, so you can try and get some interesting results. Like here, I don't know, let's just try this and see what it sounds like. Actually worked out quite well in that case. Let's listen to this. Cool, so let me start with that first one and let's see what the results will yield with this track. This could be a nice way to fill out the vocal or what have you, right? Possibilities are endless. So again, just to reiterate, we have everything enabled, and then we go into the edit menu, and then we create MIDI track from Flex Pitch Data. We mentioned the gain slider, okay? So that's pretty basic. And the next time we meet, we will talk about Verispeed and how we can use that for your tracks. So I want you to do me a big favor. I want you to really, really, really dive in, okay? Apply everything that we just talked about. It's not enough just to listen passively, right? I love being here with you, right? This is the time that we get to share and work together and talk about the very best subject in the known and unknown universe. But look, the real change is really going to come from you working on the program. And that's what I want, right? I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your progress. I want to hear your development. It's not enough that we just show up and we learn as much as we can learn. The results are really the prize. So thank you for being here. This whole thing is possible simply because there's a great establishment, a great place that is showing people just like you how to win and how to monetize their music, and it's called hfmusicacademy.com. I'm so happy to be a part of it, and I just want to share the love and share the wealth with you. It is time to go. The next time I see you, we're going to cover Verispeed, and something else that we're going to cover is, something that a lot of you may not really know at this point, but we're going to be talking about advanced edit features. Maybe there will be a time where you'll need the event list editor, and so we'll cover that a little bit. We'll talk about some applications. Again, it's not just theory. We're talking about applications. And then finally, we will also be looking at other things such as, man, this thing is extensive. control changes and how we can best utilize this editor to troubleshoot within our system. So lots coming as well. You can see that we're going to cover the step editor. Not a lot of people know about this, but you will, because you are tuned in to resources for the modern creative. Last thing, go ahead and sub just before you go, right? Just do us a favor. It'll really help out the channel. As you can tell, we're very passionate about this project and we want everybody to benefit from it. So just go ahead and hit subs, go ahead and hit the notification bell, and we really appreciate you for doing that. It's time to go. I'm going to catch you tomorrow. Thank you so much for this time. Peace. Be happy. It's Monday. Let's go.